So, is there a difference between intent and policy in California statutes? Readers of bills and statutes will regularly come across some statements of legislative intent. These paragraphs in California laws usually begin with either it is the intent of the legislature to X, or the legislature finds and declares that X. Every once in a while, you might come across in a statute or bill a statement that it is the policy of the state. For example, in two recent bills considered during the 2022 California legislative session, we found a plus section at the end of a bill, two different examples. One was, it is the policy of the state that all state agencies, boards, and commissions shall utilize their authorities in furtherance of the biodiversity conservation purposes and goals of Executive Orders B5418 and N8220. Another one was, it is the policy of the state that public agencies shall not approve projects as proposed that are inconsistent with or would impair the successful implementation of the strategies required by this subdivision. So these are just two examples of the establishment of a policy in the state of California, which leads me at least to the question of whether there's any legal or other significance between an intent statement versus a policy statement in a statute. Probably not surprisingly, neither term is actually defined in California state law. However, we do have some historical usage of these two terms, so we have a general idea of how they are used in California's 29 codes. In some ways, statements of intent and policy are similar. And of course, they are both statements made by the legislature, even though, policy statements do not include that introductory statement like intent or findings and declarations do. But there are also some differences between the two. In my review of numerous California statutes and bills over the years, I think we generally find that statements of legislative intent are often more specific in nature. But of course, sometimes they're general statements as well. Policy statements I find are generally broader, expressing goals rather than being specific in nature. Now, of course, there are exceptions to these general statements, but I think intent and policy statements in statutes are generally used for different purposes in California law.